see either of them being particularly effective in Super League.
I was giving Matty Dawson pelters, and then he went over for a try. But I think
still not a winger.
I think I could have scored that try.
He's still not a winger, and Higson, for all his industry, also I think could do more for me, or might prove.
I don't know if he can do more, and I also don't think he'll be a weak link. I just don't think he will win you games at this level. But going back to Dawson, he might have got that try where he had the freedom of the city of the ground to score it. But what just hammered home his ineffectiveness as a try-scoring proposition in Super League was the one where he was tackled short, where he didn't even seem to make an effort to jump to. We would have seen other wingers, people like Kyle Felt in the NRL or Tommy Makers.
Let's try. I know what you're saying, but I'm
talking about top class. I'm not talking about world class performers. I'm talking about good quality performers.
Yeah, okay.
But you know, he should be aspiring to perform like they perform.
Yeah.
He was making no effort to dive, to contort his body at all, to put himself in harm's way. He just surrendered to a tackle that wasn't even there yet, really.
Yeah.
And whilst it was adequate defence, it was easy to defend.
Yeah. Absolutely, I agree with you. The only other notes I made on this one was to compare the two packs in a couple of senses. First of all, the relative age of the Lease and Tunes pack is going to be a massive issue if they don't, first of all, fix up their indiscipline.
And that's coming up a pack that had Millington and Lynch in it.
Exactly. Well, that was the other point I was going to make. It's not necessarily about age, it's about conditioning, and hopefully they get that right. But this Castleford pack, we've talked a lot about their creative players and what they've got out wide, and Shenton, and how Luke Gale's come in and done well. But that pack was brilliant for me. Millington, Lynch, Massey's underrated massively. Mike McMeekin was man of the match. Gadwin Springer went after Gareth Hock like he shagged his missus or something. It was incredible to watch. That's going to be another thing that adds to Castleford's performances this season for me, is an improved bit of bite in the pack that they were missing at times last year when Lynch was missing. Keep
the pack fit, and they're undoubtedly. Keep Lynch, Moores, Massey, those sorts of players fit, and they're they've got a bit more depth in a couple of places too. But keep them fit, and they're undoubtedly a high level proposition top 4 team. Springer. Brilliant tactical deployment by Powell. They put on, like, at the point of the game where the old players for Lee, Tickle and Hock and Hansen and Stewart and people like that, people who've been around the block too many times for another spell of Super League, I don't know, as much as I love some of those players that I just mentioned, and I hate talking about them negatively.
Let's take Stewart out of that too. Stewart's got another couple of go-rounds in him, but I'll take your point on the others.
Well, Hansen has, but does he at Super? I don't know. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make, is throw in Springer for 15, 17 minutes as they did. Just give him full pelt, because he had boundless energy. And it didn't matter if he made meters or not. He was a difficult proposition with his energy and with his contact for those Lee players.
And he engages 2 or 3 tackles.
So whilst Castleford didn't score at that stage, they set the platform with that, and then Springer only did about another 5 or 6 minutes at the end of the game. He was used for a purpose of this guy can go and go and go and go for 15 minutes and still be fresh at the end of that 15 minutes, but the people he's up against will be gassed. And that's what they did so well. And then you got to put in your more elaborate player of like a Millington, and all of a sudden space was opening up everywhere.
And it's no coincidence that it was as that transition was happening that Cass started reaping the rewards and went on that big point scoring run in the first half, is it?
Exactly.
Right, okay, so let's get from Friday night and into Saturday, Mark, as your Wigan Warriors made their 2017 bout. It was a winning start to their title defence despite a determined second half fight back from Salford. 2 tries from Gildart, plus scores by Joe Burgess, George Williams and Joel Tompkins established a 26-0 half-time lead for the Warriors. Salford battled back after the break with ex-York hooker Chris Brinning crossing for a debut touchdown, followed by tries by Junior Sal and Michael Dobson, giving Salford a glimmer of hope, but your Warriors hung on, Mark.
Yeah, we talked with Tyler Casfan. Listened to this on the radio, switched off after one-sided half, should have stayed with it. Owen Hughes this is, he said, at half-time I thought we were in for another 40-0 hammering. That's referring back to the last time we played at Salford in round 1 in, I think, 2012.
Right.
Didn't think we were awful for the first 20, mostly unlucky. We really missed Sal and Louis when they went off. But at the end of the day, you need to complete sets and not give away penalties to win a game. Ultimately, we were outclassed all game. We didn't improve much in the second half, but Wigan had given up. Good to see Mark for a pint, though.
There you go. Every silver lining has a massive cloud.
We were talking... One of the things we talked about was... Owen's a little bit more of a pragmatic fan of his side than Helen, who's a bit more vociferous in her support of her side. And he was explaining that if Salford beat Hull, Salford have always had everything go their way to do that. It's there's been luck and things like that.
The referee was man the match.
And he accepts that that's the position. If Hull beat Salford, similarly, he accepts the position is that it was simply because Hull are a better side.
Yes.
And that's the way of things in the Hughes house. It was brilliant.
There you go. I would suggest. Well, I think that's probably just married life generally. I would go so far as to suggest. Mark Hogan got in touch. He says, "Jesus Christ, it was a long 4 months that we had a dreadful first half, and Wigan took full advantage. There was speed around the ruck. Their speed around the ruck was non-stop, and a few nasty high shots went unpunished. We had a much better second half when Watson must have told the boys the season had already started at half time. Standout men for me were Mossop, Kopchak, and Brinning. Gutted with the result, but happy with the fight back in the final 40.
Mossop got the sponsors man of the match, and the Wigan fans were baffled. But maybe from Salford fans' angles, they saw better stuff than we did. Brining, definitely, I thought he was really, really good and made a difference. There was one high shot that, going back to the Sal thing, Sal got his concussion protocol test off the back of a high shot from, I believe it was Gelling, was right down in the far opposite corner to me, so I didn't have any view of it whatsoever.
Right.
But there's been no punishment for it. It went on report. My take on it from what I have seen was it was more a desperate attempt to save a try from it was about 2 or 3 metres away from the line sort of thing, rather than a malicious attempt to injure a player. But obviously that could have gone a different way if the officials had had a different view of it. And there was a player tackled just before the ball got to him. I think from my angle, he looked about 15 to 20 metres away, about 15 metres away from the line, the Salford player, and I think it was Joe Burgess tackled him just before the ball got there. I think the ball was in flight. I think it was because it was bang bang. They didn't get the sin bin, but that was another one where it could have changed the whole flow of things from that point of view. So there were those 2 decisions only. How did we get through the Saints game without talking about the baffling bullshit of the Saints fans thinking that the referee was dead out against them?
Oh, I know, what the fuck?
But anyway.
Yeah, so we've had that now, but there was no way he was against you.
No, it was ridiculous. It was one of the best refereeing performances I've seen in a while. Yeah. Both ways.
I thought he handled it well, yeah.
I thought he was brilliant. He made some great calls on those marginal ones that went up to the video ref. Anyway, Mark's point about here that... nasty, I'm not sure, but definitely happened.
Maybe nasty looking rather than nasty in terms of
I do think it's worth pointing them out because there were a couple of decisions that could have changed something if more malice had been seen in it by the officials than had. I don't think it would have changed the result in the end, but it would have changed that middle part of the first half.
There you go. And finally on this one then, Lee Whitnell got in touch. He said, I listened to this game on the radio and chuff me, Wigan sounded like they were sharp. I bet Mark was grinning like a Cheshire cat for that first half. With Tompkins, McIlorum and Manfredi still to come in, things are looking bright for the Pies. You can probably ditch the Radiohead this season, Mark, and stick some S Club 7 on instead. I take his point.
I have been on journeys where both Radiohead and S Club 7 have been played on the same journey because my wife thought it'd be funny.
Well, yeah, absolutely. No, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, his point is completely nonsense.
Because you would be happier listening to Radiohead than you would be listening to S Club 7.
Me and Lee need to have a chat about things, get a consensus sort of thing. Yeah, but to be honest... the Salford fans have got it right, and the other guys who've commented have got it right too. Wigan Wigan were pretty seamless when they had opportunities in the first half. They didn't have tons of opportunities, but down Wigan's left-hand side in particular, Liam Farrell for me was the man of the match. He was absolutely brilliant. Oliver Gildart, George Williams and Joe Burgess all had great inputs too. But Liam Farrell was absolutely outstanding. That's my biggest man crush going in it. In terms of Super League players.
That's a weird one, that, because he's a weird looking one.
Even bigger than like James Roby or...
What about your other centre? What about your centre? What about
Kelly?
The people?
That's different. That's more a hero kind of status.
Is it?
But anyway...
I didn't realise there were different caveats we were attaching to all these man crushes you had.
But basically Wigan, when they got close to the Salford line, scored, Salford had so much possession. The stats will show there's so much possession and territory around the Wigan line, and really only scored 2 of the tries were off Wigan mistakes. One was Bryning's try, whilst it was sharp play from him, was awful marker and A defender defence, like embarrassing. I'd have gone onto the pitch myself if I was the coach and dragged Joel Tompkins and I can't remember who was at the A gap defender off the pitch right there and then, and given an absolute talking to, because it was lazy, and it's not going to cut it next week against your lot in the World Club Challenge.
No, it's not.
But Gildart's second try was brilliant flowing move, interplay with Farrell. That then he finished it off. Gildart's first try was a short late kick from Sean O'Loughlin that Joe Burgess managed to sort of dive out of the field of play and tap it back into the in-goal area.
Yeah.
And then Gildart was able to touch down from it. And Williams, classic Williams, step and run kind of try. But at that stage, to be honest, the last 10 minutes of the first half, Wigan looked like they were going to score all the time, whereas Salford, when they got close, looked like they were nearly going to score every time. Lewis Tierney's try-saving tackle on Michael Dobson, I don't know how he had the strength to stop him. It felt like all the momentum, all the movement, all the sway of both players' bodies was with Dobson putting it down, and Tierney managed to arrest all of that momentum and stop him scoring, and it was one of the best try-saving one-on-one tackles I've seen in a while. With a player going to touch the ball down. It wasn't as good as Makinson's tackle in terms of the ground covered and the way the player was stopped. Makinson's was the tackle of the round, but this cut it fine. It was close.
There you go.
But I was glad to see Salford stuck with it, certainly, even though Wigan didn't quite, just because I want Salford to do well this year. I think it's good for the sport if they do well. Then when the new road's finished, going under motorway and over canal and that, they'll have no reason to moan necessarily about getting there and that.
Yeah, they'll have a super team to watch.
Then it's their own fault if
there
they
you
don't
go
go to games.
Statistics then. Tell us what painted a picture of this game for us in terms of the numbers, Mark.
Salford made more metres overall thanks to a bit more ball, despite 12 errors and 7 penalties. Hold on. Yeah, and 7 penalties against them. This was helped by a 12... Right, sorry, I'll start this again because I've read this wrong.
Okay.
Salford made more metres overall thanks to...
We all make mistakes, mate, and it's important to know that we don't criticise each other.
Thanks to a bit more ball, despite 12 errors made to 7 against them. So they made 12 errors, Wigan made 7.
Yes.
This was helped by a 12-6 penalty count in their favour. Outside of discipline, though, Wigan were the better side defensively.
Okay. What leads you to say that?
With a 1.5% better team tackle success, and then Wigan were also more clinical in attack. 11 attacking kicks were had by Salford compared to Wigan's 8, as well as 5 goal line dropouts forced by Salford compared to Wigan's 1. They're all an indication of the territorial advantage Salford had, but with 4 clean breaks each in this game, Wigan went on to score 5 tries, but Salford only 3. That separation of tries scored from the stats that preceded it suggests Wigan's defence was much firmer. Willie Isa with 50 tackles for Wigan individually was one of the standouts. George Williams with a try assist, 2 clean breaks. Liam Farrell, my man of the match, a try assist, 6 tackle loss, 191 metres. Joe Burgess on his second debut with a try assist, 106 metres. Oliver Gildart with 2 tries and 128 metres. For Salford, both wingers were in the metres. Greg Johnson 116, Justin Carney 186. Niall Evans played in the centre inside Johnson on that defensively suspect right edge. 1 try assist, 123 metres going forward though, and his centre partner Junior Sal, despite 10 minutes or so getting his head checked out, had a try and 109 metres. Chris Browning capped his debut with a try and 41 tackles coming off the bench.